This week's test drive definitely delivered the premium S quality I sometimes prefer, and better yet, it did it in a modest sized sport ute offering. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson, and now specifically behind me is the 2020 Range Rover Sport P400e HSE. Basically all that said is it's a darn good premium sport utility. Also thrown in is, of course, a little plug and play there at the front, making it a little bit battery powered when you need it. Now, before we get started, let's do a little detailing because, well, the pollen just has diminished the polish. Now, this isn't advertisement for a specific brand, but this is an instant detailer. And what it allows me to do is kind of dress this vehicle up with the pollen that's out. I don't really have time to wash this vehicle because the second it's done, well, it's repollinated. So what I like to do is take an instant kind of detailer and give her a good wiper down. Now I find that when you kind of get in touch with a vehicle, specifically detailing it or really getting into those crevices, this is when you can start to see the fit and trim of any vehicle. Now here from the profile, you can see obviously we polish things up, not positive. You can see all that pollen that has collected at the back, but obviously this glossy facade really draws attention. And what I like is the two-tone approach. No longer is it just all about one body color, but this darkened accents that really gives a smoky atmosphere. Now, what I'm referring to when it comes to cleaning is all the nooks and crannies that really can find some grime here and there. And where you'll notice is in this implied venting here on the side, a throwback Thursday nostalgia that Range Rover has really kept through the years. But what you'll notice is obviously this takes a little extra detailing right through here, but no big deal. But these little accents are what really dress a vehicle up, even sweeping all the way down to this nice flare out at the bottom. Again, the dual tone approach, even right down to the four corners. Let's talk about design here at the back end. First off, with this piece that really elongates the overall roof line, also implies a nice little S-curve here at the back end. If this wasn't here, it would have more of a quirky kind of profile with more of a slant up. This kind of squares it off at the top, gives a nice overall design. What it also does is provide some functionality, basically allowing the rear operation of the windshield wiper to tuck up underneath here, and of course it swings down when needed. That versus older models of SUVs that typically have that operation plastered there on the back, and well, that just isn't pretty. This makes it a lot more premium. Now with the dual tones we saw on the side, we'll see it here at the back. Nice darkened accent, even right down to the darkened tint window. Body color sweeping down through here, lower fascia that is darkened, so obviously continuing that nice smoky atmosphere all the way around, even right down to the verbiage Range Rover on the back. Now when it comes to detailing, when you're doing this by hand, you will notice that the raised letterings do take a little extra effort to clean up. As you sweep down, of course, what I do like is the clear lens, but dark, smoky atmosphere in there as well. Lastly, let's talk about safety while we're back here. Backup sensors, backup camera, pretty much all the technology you need to prevent any scrapes and dings. So with about 3/4 of this vehicle clean, one thing I found is with the tight body lines and the smooth, refined kind of overall look, well, that makes cleanliness so much easier. That versus some of the competition that is, well, chiseling things up. Anytime you chisel, well, that's going to leave a nook and cranny, and well, taking that cloth around could make it so much more difficult. But again, here on the Range Rover, everything's really nice and tight, really implied ridge lines that flow one from the next. Even this lower fascia, really nice and tight and trimmed up quite nice. Again, this implied venting is about the only part you might need to take that fine-tooth comb and, well, maybe that grill warfare I'll show you in just a second. Now, talk about some operation of this vehicle. One thing I love is ingress, and, well, when it's premium like this, pretty much walk up to any door, place your hand, unlocks with ease, and obviously the mirrors remind us that, well, operation has completed. Now, when you walk away and need to lock things up, nice corresponding button here locks it up as you walk away. One area you may want to spend some of your time, even though it does have a nice darkened atmosphere to it, is, well, here at the four corners. Now, what we have here specifically are 275 45s wrapping a 21-inch rim, and, well, there's a nice spoke design. Again, a polished black versus traditional chrome we've seen over the decades. But this obviously give it a nice smoky atmosphere, and, well, just a little bit of cleanliness will polish it right up. Last but not least is grill warfare and polishing things up here at the front end. And one thing you'll notice is this may take a little bit more effort and your time, especially with the huge bank of glass, the arm stretch approach across the hood, and, well, some of the detailing here and there. Now, first off, the venting at the top, that's going to take a little extra effort to polish around. Nice, flattened somewhat hood all the way across, barely raised right through the middle, but again, nice, smooth, tight lines. But where you want to spend a lot of your attention is the grill warfare. Now, what I like is it has somewhat a nice narrowed approach, really sweeping across all the way, coupling nicely with the menacing headlights that got a lot of design features going on. And again, under a nice clear lens with darkened accents. But really, it's this kind of honeycomb grill that you see right through here as well as down low. Really a lot of air infusion going through the front end, specifically even on the sides, right through the middle, and pretty much 3/4 of the grill. Now, what you will find over here is some operation, specifically when it comes to this hybrid plug-in version of the Range Rover. This is going to sweep open, really giving you the hookup for the plug at the back, bring it around, charge this vehicle up, and of course you can go into EV mode. Now, some other features to talk about really is safety. Of course, cameras surround this vehicle on the sides, the back, and here at the front end, as well as sensors, pretty much giving you sensor overload with the front sensors. Really helpful when you're getting to those tight spots. One thing I did find, not sure it's actually written down on paper, is this vehicle sensed when I was parking that I was fairly close to another vehicle. I could tell visually that I had a little bit more space, wanted to tighten things up just a little bit. Unfortunately, or fortunately, this vehicle wouldn't allow it. It pretty much said, you're close enough, and, well, wouldn't go any further. One area I've been talking about as of late, and, well, I've been educated as well, basically in the daytime running lights and, well, all the bedazzling and bejeweling that's going on in the headlight assemblies. Now, one thing you'll notice on the road as well, the daytime running lights are, of course, running all the time as some safety, and that's been out in the industry for decades. What has come as of late, due to regulations, I have found out, is that when the daytime running light is on and the turn signal comes on, well, the daytime running light goes away, the turn signal illuminates, and it gives you kind of that squinted eye approach. Only one headlight kind of is adorned. Well, I found out because, well, that's all due to proximity of the daytime running lights. If they are too close, well, what the government says is, well, one has to overpower the other. So in that case, on some vehicles, the daytime running light goes away, the turn signal's on, and again, that kind of contrasty light on, light off. What I like here on the Range Rover is what you see here. Basically, the daytime running lights still have some illumination, but the turn signal truly is overpowering any daytime running light whatsoever. So it gets rid of that kind of squinty eye approach and goes more kind of bedazzling and, well, just seems to be a natural fit of where the daytime running lights should go. For the Range Rover Sport, you could say it's all about the power, but, well, not in the traditional sense of, well, an engine here and just a gas pedal to boot, but instead some nice electric battery components going with it, specifically this being the PHEV model. Now what that means is that, well, it comes with a turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine. That's going to deliver decent horsepower, around about 398 horses and 472 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I don't remember such numbers when it comes to other electric-like vehicles I've driven, so this one definitely has some boot, scoot, and boogie. Now, the way it gets there is the electric side of things delivers around about 141 horses and 203 of the foot-pounds of torque. To be expected, nice power rear hatch. You can interact with the key fob or just simply press the release right here in the button. Before we get it to rise to the occasion, one thing to talk about is we actually parked this vehicle in a somewhat low carport area. After we get it going, we were worried that it actually may come in contact with the roof, so we kind of had this kind of tug-of-war affair trying to get it to stop. It certainly did, but it did put up a pretty good fight. It was only after that that we learned a much simpler approach. What you do is just simply get the rear hatch rising. Then when you want it to stop, just simply press that button right there. Once you do that, it's a very simple approach to get it to go a little bit further. Just simply manually push up on it, very light, and you can ease it into place. That obviously will minimize scrapes and dings versus it power lifting into place. Now, once it's open, what you're going to notice is plenty of height. I'm about 6'2", really no head banging affairs except for maybe the locking mechanism. Otherwise, pretty good height overall. What you're also going to notice with the arching of the rear hatch, really cathedral-like right through here. Really also a nice rain canopy on bad weather days. Now, once it's open, what you're going to notice is around about 24 cubic feet of space behind the second row, with the second row laid flat around about 56. What we have here is, of course, the charging device, allowing you to plug it up to the house, hook it right there into the vehicle and charge it right up. Now, I don't utilize this enough when I'm test driving a vehicle, just not enough time in the week, but really I like the fact you can charge this up overnight and provide that kind of EV mode when you need it. Now, looking at the other setup back here, again, plenty of overall cargo. Really, one thing that is helpful is this very heavy rubber mat. One thing it does is really grip everything into place, as well as prevent everything, especially on rainy days, snow, whatever. Range Rovers are known for their getting around, and obviously when you're out there getting things muddy and wet, you're going to throw it right here in the back. And certainly with these nice tie downs, you can put things in and lock them into place. Obviously a nice rear tonneau cover that can be pulled out, again hiding what you have in here from prying eyes. We all know about the ride height capabilities on a Range Rover, but it is as simple as the ingress or lift-in height here at the back end that really this vehicle can transform. Now, specifically here on the outside pillar, you do have a nice button that can, well, just simply deflate the vehicle, lowering it, allowing the lift height to go down, obviously making heavier items so much easier to put in. Obviously, press this button here, it's going to rise back up and get it back to normal ride height. Now, one thing I found in this particular model was this nice spring-loaded cargo organizer. Now, again, the rubber mat really grips things, but taller items need something that holds them into place, and that's what this compartment can do. Now, just simply open it right up, obviously makes life easy. What you'll find here on the side are these hook-in straps that pretty much allow you to go to any of these anchor points. Simply run it through the loop, hook it back to itself, and that'll allow you to cinch those into place really from either side, and again just keeps it nice and sturdy, and allows you to put items that maybe you roll around or what have you in this compartment, and again just makes it so much neater and organized here at the back end. One aspect about premium vehicles is it's sometimes better to be driven in these vehicles versus being the driver, because, well, the creature comforts are as equal here in the back as is in the front. Now, where it starts is really in the seating here at the back end, really individualized attention on the outer side, almost to the point of captain's chairs. Nice middle seat that, well, isn't too small and can handle 3 adults across, mainly because down here at the floor, there is no proverbial middle hump. Everything is nice and flat, plenty of room for foot space. What you also notice is a nice heavy matting we found there in the cargo floor. here as well in the second row, really minimizing wear and tear on the carpet. Now, once you climb inside, again, I'm over 6 feet tall. What I found is legroom numbers are quite nice. In the front, around about 39 inches with this seat specifically about as far back as it can go, leaving me around about 37 inches, which is plenty even for my size frame. And again, 3 can easily squeeze in here. But when there's only 2 or 1, well, that allows you to lower this nice center console, great elbow support, and of course, room for 2 cup holders and nice spongy material to grip the drinks with ease. Backseat drivers will also get plenty of airflow in the form of the nice dual exhaust there behind the center console, as well as vents up above from the ceiling. Now, as for overall comfort, that is set with dual zones as well here in the back. So you could call this a quad zone system, really, with dual zones up front and 2 here in the back, with nice individualized attention for both outer occupants, as well as fan speed there and vent select. Down low on the back of the center console, you also find connectivity in the form of a nice traditional power outlet here on the left side, and in the form of 2 USB connections here and here. One big area of improvement when it comes to Range Rovers over the last couple of years really is the use of LCD displays, getting rid of traditional climate controls and radio clutter, the traditional knobs, really everything housed under glass. And where it first starts is the infotainment system. Now, what you're going to find is really right up top, and it has nice split screen, giving you shortcuts to various segments, navigation, radio, and so on. If you want to go full screen, just simply select it, and you've got it nice and full screen, but you still do have a nice shortcut over here that you can scroll through various selections. Now, one thing it did take a little extra learning was the operation of the radio. First off, you do have the sources. Everything seems nice and simple. The favorites is what's confused me just a hair. So let's just go to another radio, for example. Let's go to Prime Country. I want that to be my preset. Well, I went to favorites, and I assumed I could just sit right here and add it. Well, not really the case. These are already the ones that you've preset. So let's go back to the radio. All you have to do, it only takes just a second once you figure it out, is just simply press that star right there. Once you do that, you can obviously see that it appeared down here, and as you set more, you can simply just scroll through one after the other. One thing I would prefer is this is somewhat small. So what I would like to do is actually put my favorites over here, because it'd be a lot easier to see and scroll through. This is just so minimal and a little bit harder to glance at. Below the infotainment system, you're going to find a huge, nice LCD display. It's going to house the climate control, seating, vehicle, and other settings, really all under this nice, huge screen. And really the way to operate it is either touch sensitive or these controls, and it all relates to what you're visually seeing on the screen. So naturally, if you're trying to change the temperature, but you're on this particular screen, well, as you go to change the knob, well, it's actually just affecting the heating or cooling of the front seat. So you want to make sure that as you're on this screen, well, you're on what you want to set. Once you get there, real easy to use. What you have up front, of course, is dual zones, even right down to the vent selection over here on the left side. Obviously, for the driver, I have 2 vents selected. On the right, just 1, but with the touch of a system there, you can change it right up. Now, if you prefer, you can sync it up, and that means whatever the driver's doing is going to sync across the vehicle. Now, for many of you that can harness the power of what the Range Rover can deliver, well, this is where you want to be. Just simply select the vehicle screen up here. Then you're going to have tons of little icons that, well, relate this vehicle to different road settings, right down to the grass, gravel, snow program, raising the overall height, going through mud ruts and so on, or articulation sand program. And again, just simply select it, and then up above it gives you some other settings. So obviously you've got a lot of easy visualization that even for this novice can easily harness the power of what's going on. One area you might prefer is the selector knob, which is found right between the front occupants. That allows you really to relate to the screen with the turn of the knob, and that's obviously going to change the various settings as well. Now, what you can do here is obviously control the ride height and downhill descent over here, and just some other shortcuts that you may prefer to get used to versus the touchscreen. Up here as well is you do have the EV mode. When this vehicle is fully charged, you can opt for. To keep everything nice and sleek, there is a covering that has the dual cup holders. The cup holders do have this nice spongy material that grips quite easily, and I found this is a nice place to put your phone when it's charging. Now, if you're looking for storage between the front occupants, well, it's going to be of a different sorts on this particular model, specifically a nice cooler to keep your drinks in when you're going down the road. Now, once you open it up, what you're going to find is about room enough for 4 cans or some small water bottles. Just simply press this button depending on what cool level you want it to be at. Now, for connectivity, you will find USBs right here as well as traditional outlet, and this little area allows for the cords to extend out, obviously to charge the phone that's positioned in the cup holder area. For both front occupants, you're going to find nice elbow support on the door as well as memory settings for the front seats, all positioned right here along with the lock and unlock button. One thing I thought would be here instead would be the window controls. Instead, those are found up high on the door itself, making for kind of an arm stretch when you want to raise or lower the windows. In my opinion, these should be switched. So anytime we look at a premium SUV, and it really comes down to, well, what it can deliver on the inside and, well, certainly the fun it can have under the hood. But sometimes that fun doesn't have to be at a very hefty expense, meaning, well, gas guzzling experience. Instead, you can dress things up like we see here, add a little bit of plug and play components, and we'll go off the grid should you prefer. And the best part about it is it doesn't feel anemic whatsoever, and it still has that pep in the step. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.